Hey, what's up, founders? It's Steve Aiken here, and I want to talk to you today about my top three books on mindset. Now, as founders, as CEOs, as executives, CTOs, it comes down to a mindset. A lot of times, right? You have to always remain positive, always remain productive, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what's going on in your business. You have to maintain a growth mindset. You have to maintain a strong head, strong mind, or else you're going to get beaten down. A lot of what we do is stressful. A lot of people can't hack this stuff, and I think that they could hack it as long as they got their mind right, get their mindset strong, so no matter what happens, they could just worst case scenario take one day, screw it, today sucks, come back next day, and have four of those a year. That's not a big deal. But most, you just keep working on it. Most of the time, you're just not going to have bad days. You'll have bad half days, then bad hours, then bad minutes, then you just kind of roll with everything and it doesn't really bother you anymore. So that's why I think mindset is super important for us as founders. And here are the top three books that I have for to help you get there. So the first is an interesting biography. It's Jack Kennedy, Elusive Hero by Chris Matthews of MSNBC and political commentary fame. It's a really good book, really well written. It's a good life or a good look at the life of President JFK, John F. Kennedy, or Jack Kennedy, as literally everybody called him. I don't know why we call him John. It's solid. It shows that this dude went through a lot, man. It doesn't matter what you believed in politically. It doesn't matter what party you're affiliated with. Dude was an American president, and he accomplished a lot in his short life. I mean, don't forget, he got shot in the freaking head in Dallas back in the day doing one of his tours. And obviously he talks about that in the book, but that's not the whole point of the mindset. The point is that the guy had Addison's disease before that was a thing. It's an autoimmune disorder, and it kind of crippled him. Like, it's something you could tolerate now with modern medicine, but back in the day when they didn't know what it was, he was on his deathbed like all the time. A couple times in his life, he had his last rites written to him. He was a Catholic dude. He has priests give him last rites several times, including while he was in office as I believe as a senator, maybe as a president. I haven't read it in a while, but it shows that he went through all that stuff. He went through being a sick, thin, like weakling of a kid, and how he's able to kind of spend all this time by himself in hospitals all the time, and then away by himself at boarding school, and why he was able to utilize all that hardship and all that struggle as a child to make him a war hero. Which he got into a boating accident when he was a captain in the Navy, and his whole crew got stranded in some freaking island in the South Pacific, and he persevered, got everyone out of there safely. It's kind of a remarkable story. Shows his rise from war hero to congressman. He realized Congress didn't have as much power as he wanted to, and he wanted to be a senator. Then he got to a senator. They said, "Oh, now I want to do the real deal," and how he quickly became a president. And shows his failures along the way, and just how he always kept the mindset of this is going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. Really great, inspiring read from inspiring dude. Next up, we have another great read from another inspiring dude. This one's living. This Colonel Chris Hadfield's An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. Now, this is a guy he's an astronaut. He made his rounds on the viral loop from a YouTube video where he's saying Space Odyssey by Bowie throughout the space station, and they made a music video, sent it back. I think his son was the mastermind of putting that all together and doing it. It's a cool read. It shows the perseverance that's needed if you have a big goal, a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, and you just stick with it through thick and thin, through the long haul. Like, he was a Canadian. Canada wasn't putting a lot of money into the International Space Program at the time. They weren't doing much at the space program. Too bad. He still wanted to be an astronaut. He was still doing it. He was a pilot, a military pilot, a test pilot. Dude's job for years was at Annapolis in Maryland. He would take the fighter pilots, these fighter jets, all the way up and then stall them. And while they plummeted down to Earth, he would figure out ways to recover them before he crashed and died. And that was his job for a while. So kind of an intense dude, although he does not seem that way at all. I've seen him in interviews. He seems remarkably relaxed and calm and peaceful. Maybe that's part of the astronaut's way. But he would do this crazy stuff, and he was a test pilot. He was a fighter pilot, a test pilot. And at the time when he was like astronaut ready, it's not something that they were sending up into space. They were sending up mission specialists and scientists and doctors and all these kind of things. But It's a great story about how to do whatever it takes to get your goals achieved and realized, and also how to just put your mind into perspective. Like in space, if any little thing goes wrong, you could die. If you freak out about anything that goes wrong, you could die. You don't have time for that. So it puts a lot of our earthly perspective or earthly problems into perspective. Great read for any one of the founders, any entrepreneur space. It's just phenomenal. My last was a book that changed my life. A Complete Free World by Will Bowen. I think the Reverend Will Bowen. It's a book about complaining and why complaining saps the energy out of you and anybody else around you, and that there's literally no point in complaining about anything at all out loud. You can't really control your thoughts terribly much, so don't worry about that. But if you complain about things out loud, you are literally making the world a worse place, unless you're complaining about them while changing them. Like if you are complaining and then it invokes a change, then it's okay. But if you're just complaining like, oh, this sucks, I don't want to do this, I don't like doing this, why does this have to happen to me? That's complaining. It's making your life worse. It's making everyone around you worse. It's making the world worse. And it's a cool book that puts that into perspective, and I never knew it. And it gives you this concept of every time you complain, you take this purple bracelet and you switch your wrists, and you realize how often you complain, and it shows how endemic this is. So it got me to stop complaining. It got the people around me to stop complaining, at least around me, which is awesome. But I think the less you complain in general, the better your life is. It's kind of remarkable how that works. So, fantastic book. I recommend anybody pick it up. Anybody, everybody should read this book, especially if you're in the startup space, an entrepreneurial space, if you're a CEO, a founder, anybody. Great read. Check it out. I highly recommend it. I'm going to put these links to these books in the description as always. If you like these book reviews, you can subscribe to the channel. You can hit me up at Startup Black Belt, startupblackbelt.com. Always checking out the comments. I'll read and respond to everyone, as long as they're not complaining. Without looking to change it, I won't do that. But if you have anything to tell me, you have any suggestions for topics I should cover, you want to see me say anything else, let me know. Until then, I'll catch you next time, Founder.